Hello chess fans, today we have a miniature game of myself. I played this game over the board at my local club. I played against a player rated 1570, so I'm a small 400 elo points higher and a clear favorite, of course. Nonetheless, I shouldn't underestimate my opponent because he has I think about 40 years of club playing experience against not yet 3 years of myself. In this game, which is a 14 move miniature, I believe. Let's have a look at it. Yes, it's a 14 move miniature. Of course you will see the necessary mistakes of black and exploitation by myself. Well, let's give it a go. E4, G6. Black will fianchetto the bishop later to G7. Usually I'll cope with it by placing a pawn on D4 and then later building a kind of block of pawns by also placing a pawn on C3 and if allowed white pawn on E5. Also, if ever black would play E5, I'm more than happy to push my D4 pawn to D5, once again blocking the bishop. Another idea which I use is that after developing my own bishop to, let's say, G5, later put the queen behind my bishop and then like to trade the bishops off the board, especially if black chooses to castle to the king side. If his knight is on F6, then the bishop on G5 mostly pins it or potentially pins it. If H6 is ever played, the bishop might retreat to E3, hitting the pawn and weakening the king side, especially when planning on castling to the king side. So I play D4, also of course strengthening the center. Why not? Black is not coping with the center right now. Bishop G7, the fianchetto which we expected. Knight F3 is fine now. Defending the pawn and still adding more pieces towards the center. E6, and now already I choose to play E5. Perhaps not the best to play it immediately, but well, I did, and it's not wrong. D5. I was pleasantly surprised by this. This means that my idea of putting a block for the bishop will work, and I probably can trade the bishops if I want to through H6. If black castles to the queen side, we'll have really nice counter attack here. We have a really nice attack going on the king and perhaps on my king, but those are the positions that I really like. I choose to play bishop F4. Why? Well, because most moves that black can play are not quite happy. What are the options here? Black could play queen to D7. I think that would have been my choice in the game. The queen is attacked, so it has to do something about it. You can play knight to E7. Then your knight is pinned for the moment, and still you have to move your queen to cope with this problem. But you develop a piece. And my opponent chose to play the move F6, which weakens the king side already, and it will be a while for the black king can go to safety. I think now you don't have the idea of castling to the king side, and castling to the queen side is out for quite a while. I play bishop to H4. It leaves the tension on the F6 pawn. And of course F6 pawn is pinned. It cannot capture, it cannot move because of the pin on the queen. So bishop to H4 keeps the tension on the pawn. Black now makes a mistake by playing G5, which really is not possible. The problem with G5 is that it opens the king's position even more. It opens the diagonal H5 to E8 for the white queen towards the really exposed black king. I can play e takes F6, and now there is not a happy choice for black. Let's have a look at all of his possibilities. If we play knight takes F6, then we simply win material and pin the knight, so that's a pretty happy position for us. If we choose to capture with the queen, queen takes F6, then once more we have material and also a tempo on the queen. and of course in every position black king still is pretty vulnerable. The move g takes h4 would be a total blunder, because we simply have f takes g7, and now black cannot rescue the entrapped black rook. He has to play queen to f6, well, and then of course we play g takes h, and well, let's pawn to bishop just for the fun of it. And black is totally lost. Black chooses to play bishop takes f6, but now the open diagonal comes into work, because we can now simply play knight takes f6. If he takes, then we give a check on h5 and win the material. I expected here that black would play h5, and then I would have continued with queen to d3, renewing the threat of check. Let's say rook h6, then queen to e3, and well, totally fine here. However, black did not choose to prevent queen to h5 and played bishop takes g5, and now he's totally lost if he wasn't already. Queen to h5 check. He has to move the king. King to d7. We capture with tempo on the queen. Queen to e8, and now according to the computer I do not play the best move. I'll explain that to you later, but I do play a move which wins material. Try to find it if you can. I'll continue with the video in 3 seconds, 2, 1, and I will start now again. Queen takes. King has to recapture, and now the move bishop to f4 wins at least a pawn. You see that we attack pawn on c7, and if you would play something to prevent us capturing the pawn, let's say c6, then we play bishop to e5, attacking the rook and at least winning a piece. And this is exactly what happened. Black saw the attack on the black pawn, blundered with c6. I played bishop to e5, and here black resigned. Black has no happy choices because he has to play knight f6, and then we eat the knight, an entire horsey for dinner, and black has lost. Of course he should have prevented the move bishop to e5. Well, let's say something like shall we do here? Well, a development move, knight to c6, but then he would add another pawn to our advantage, and we would be totally winning. So, why does the computer say that trading the queens is not the best move? Well, the computer of course is right. It's not the best move. Why not? Because the king is stuck in the middle, and we want to keep the queens on the board so we can exploit the vulnerable king. However, I saw this as a winning line and choose to play it, because also I'm a human and playing against a human, and I know that with a 2-pawn advantage I'll have no trouble sailing home. Okay, well, this was my game, a miniature. Thank you very much for joining me, and enjoy your games. Bye bye.